I'm going to be reviewing Disney's Zootopia. Woo woo! Let me first start off by saying this is an extreme spoiler review. So if you have not seen Zootopia, please click away. If you have not seen Zootopia, again, click off now. I'll wait. Okay, they're gone. It's revealed at the beginning of the movie that animals have evolved to not have to eat each other anymore. Predator and prey live side by side. They've also evolved to walk upright, wear clothes, and use electronics. So this is very important. They have evolved. So Judy Hopps, a bunny from the rural Bunnyboro farm, has dreamed her whole life of being a cop, and people would always tell her, including her parents, that she could never do it. When she grows up, she joins the police academy, and through rigorous training and determination, she graduates the top of her class. After graduation, she decides to move to the big city of Zootopia, where anyone can be anything. But she soon realizes that no one takes her seriously as a bunny cop, so her first duty is as a meter maid. So while meter maiding, she catches the sly fox Nick Wilde in an intricate scheme involving popsicles, and she blackmails him into helping her solve her very first case to impress Chief Bogo. Her first case is to find a missing otter, so Judy and Nick team up buddy cop style to find the missing mammal. During their investigation, they find out that some of the mammals in Zootopia are reverting back to their primal savage state and basically going crazy and becoming real animals again. So they're not walking upright anymore, they're not talking, they're going back to that state. So at this point, I thought it was actually going to become like a zombie type movie. Like I thought all the animals were going to start reverting back to that primal state of zombie, and it was going to kind of be like Zombieland. But it turns out it was much deeper than that. We find out that someone is intentionally injecting the predators only with a serum to make them revert back to their predatory state and make them all rawr again. So basically, they're being turned savage so that they'll revert back to this state to segregate the predators and the prey so that the prey can gain power. So as tensions grow between predator and prey, Nick and Judy, who were starting to become friends, they actually start distrusting each other. Eventually, they discover the evil plot and they thwart it. And predator and prey can live together happily again. That was my summary, but this movie gets really deep. They get into racism, prejudice, police misuse of power, all these things that are so relevant today that we're talking about. And Disney tackled these issues in a children's film and did it quite nicely without being too in your face about it, but you're still like, whoa, I caught that reference. Woo, I saw that on the news today. Here are some examples I caught from the movie of times when it got deep. So number one is Judy trying to become the first bunny cop. Like, it's a big deal in Zootopia that she's trying to be the first bunny cop. And that could be paralleled with, you know, someone trying to be the first woman cop in their district, or the first black cop in their district, or the first Hispanic cop in their district, or the first Asian cop in their district. It really hit home in, you know, some of the plights that minorities face when trying to get into a position of power. Number two is Judy being taught by her old-fashioned parents not to trust foxes. And, you know, they're from a rural area, and when she goes off to the city, you know, they distrust those city slickers. They give her the fox repellent. They tell her, oh, don't trust them there foxes. Nerd, you don't want to trust them foxes. They'll put the hurtin' on you. And she, maybe unknowingly, carries those prejudices with her into her adulthood and into Zootopia. Next is the very heartwarming backstory that reveals that Nick Wilde becomes a con artist because society told him that he could never be anything more than a slippery fox, and so he started to believe them, so he became what society told him he was going to be anyway. So I thought that was very deep. Another moment was the protest going on between predator and prey. Once tensions get high, you see those protesters out, or we don't trust predators. Predators become the new target for Zootopia, and they are seen as the villains by the prey. And you see this when a mother prey is on the subway and a tiger or a predator sits down next to her, and she kind of like grabs her son and pulls him closer. I was like, ooh, that be happening in real life though. But the movie isn't totally serious. Of course, it does have those serious elements, but it does lighten the mood with some lighthearted comedy based on stereotypes as well. For example, all sloths working at the DMV. Everyone saw that scene in the trailer. It's still hilarious when you watch it in the real movie. And just the fact that Nick Wilde was like, oh, since they're sloths, they can't be fast? Judy, little prejudice there. And Assistant Mayor Bellwether talking about the Mammal Inclusion Initiative. She's like, it's working, which obviously is Zootopia's version of affirmative action to get prey in a higher position of power. And one I thought was hilarious was Nick Wilde being scolded by Judy for touching Assistant Mayor Bellwether's wool. And this scene I thought it was hilarious. Like, if you are a black person and you have ever worn your hair in an afro, you know how it is when people are always trying to touch your hair and like grab onto your hair and like, oh, it feels like a sheep. Oh my goodness. Like, we could relate to that. And a really good one was, man, I'm surprised they went with this one. Officer Clawhauser calls Judy cute, and Judy's like, oh, no, only bunnies can call other bunnies cute. Like, other animals, when they do it, it's kind of offensive, we can only call each other cute. That's our word. I was like, yes, honey. Now let's talk about the voice acting. The voice acting was amazing. Jennifer Goodwin did an amazing job. I didn't feel like I was hearing a celebrity voice an animal character. I felt like she was Judy Hopps. I felt like she just took on the role, and her voice was so perfect for her. I am just very impressed with Jennifer Goodwin. Jason Bateman did an amazing job as Nick Wilde. He was very sarcastic. I loved his voice as Nick Wilde, and he gave off a very Flynn Rider kind of feel. Like, I definitely got that Flynn Rider vibe from Nick Wilde. I'm a big Bonnie Hunt fan, so I was excited when I discovered that Bonnie Hunt was the voice of Bonnie Hopps, which is Judy's mother. And I don't know much about Jenny Slate, but I think her voice was perfect for Assistant Mayor Bellwether. I just love her little raspy voice, and it was so cute. I want to talk about two voices that definitely stood out for me. In every Disney movie, there's always a voice that kind of like takes the spotlight, and really a character or a voice that really, makes you go, wow. And for me, that was Officer Clawhauser and Police Chief Bogo. I originally thought that Officer Clawhauser was voiced by Jonah Hill because it sounds exactly like him, but it turns out he's voiced by the comedian Nate Torrance, and he did an amazing job. His character's hilarious. He was a scene stealer. And Police Chief Bogo is voiced by none other than the amazing Idris Elba. Yes, yes. You also had some amazing voices provided by J.K. Simmons, Maurice LaMarche, John DiMaggio, Kristen Bell, Alan Tudyk, Kath Soucie, and of course, Shakira. And it's a Disney movie, so of course the animation was on point. You could just see the nice fur. The animation reminded me a lot of Bolt, where you could see the fur of the animals and their facial expressions, and just everything was really great. As I talked about before, with all those references to social issues, the writing was spot on. I don't think I've loved a anthropomorphic animal movie this much since Warner Brothers' Cats Don't Dance, which also talked about social issues of racism in Hollywood. Now I'm going to talk about the references. Zootopia was basically a spoof of our world, from the names of the stores to the names of the districts, the different apps. It was just hilarious how they took things from our world and turned them into an animal spin. And Zootopia even spoofs Breaking Bad in one scene in a railroad car when this ram is creating the serum to inject the predators with. They make some references to Breaking Bad because he's like in there with his little mask, and oh my, you just have to see it. But the best references in this movie are the Disney references. Of course, Disney always references its other movies in its upcoming movies, but Zootopia did it in a much more fun way. There's a blatant scene where Chief Bogo is basically like, you can't just burst out into song and expect all your dreams to come true. So let it go. And I was hollering. I was like, yes! There's also a hilarious scene where a sneaky weasel named Duke Weaselton is selling bootleg DVDs on the side of the road. They're spoofing everything from Wreck-It Ralph to Tangled to Frozen 2. So I thought that was hilarious. Now I'll talk about the things I had a little bit of concerns with. One concern I had was that Zootopia only consisted of mammals. There were no birds, reptiles, amphibians. There were no sea creatures unless you count the otters and the hippos. But there were no like whales or fish or any kind of flying animals. My guess is that there's going to be separate districts for each of these different kind of like types of animals. Like maybe there's a reptile district, maybe there's a sea creature district, maybe there's a whole like underwater district that we don't know about, which is why I'm hoping for a sequel. My other concern was that the movie was not a musical, which isn't that big of a deal, but I have noticed that Disney movies that are musicals tend to get more popular than the Disney movies that lack music. But at the same time, Zootopia really held its own without having songs. But we did have that amazing "try everything" scene at the end, which I thought was great. One of my favorite parts in the movie are the dancing shirtless tigers. I love that scene so much. I watch it on repeat on YouTube because it's so funny. I find that hilarious for some reason. In conclusion, I loved Zootopia, though I did have those two little quirks with it. But other than that, it was an amazing movie. I literally want to see it again. As soon as I left the theater, I wanted to see it again. I probably am going to see it again. And I just loved it. Hopefully you've already seen Zootopia if you're watching this video. So, what did you think of Zootopia? And more importantly, let's talk about the social aspects. What did you think about them addressing racism and social issues in the Disney movie like this? Like, it was, whoa! Put in the comments below what you thought about Zootopia and what you think a sequel would entail. Let me know, and see you later.